Hey everybody, we're going to look at one of the really cool uses of the modifier MIDI effects today. This is one of those things that you can use for a number of different things. Everything from changing your mod wheel to some other MIDI control data. It's a really flexible way to just convert MIDI from one thing to another. But I want to look at it specifically looking at how we can use the note number to also control some of our other plugin parameters. So the first example is this one with the retro synth, and I've got the modifier on the channel and the note number is the input event, and it's being reassigned to this shelf right here that's being pulled down, so it's acting kind of like a low-pass filter. Now, the thing about this is that the through is also turned on, which means that the MIDI data is also triggering the note. So if I turn this off, watch my EQ right now, you'll see that it changes as I go lower on the keyboard and it opens up as I go higher on the keyboard. Now the way I did that, I learned plugin parameter right here, and then I just touched this right there, the actual parameter on there. So let's actually switch this to the low pass filter so you can see how this works. Learn plugin parameter. We'll choose the frequency right there. Now, as I go down, our actual low-pass filter is engaging at different frequencies. Perfect. I have the scale turned all the way up, which means it's going to be able to do the whole range here. But then I was pushing a low note, and I adjust the add slider to make it kind of line up with the low part of the frequency range here. So I just adjusted that. Now the high one, because we're at 200% scale, will go almost all the way up to where we need it to be. So now let's turn on the through, and you'll hear the notes changing with the EQ curve. So you can't really do polyphonal equalization here for each of the notes. I made up that word. But you can't do that for each one. It's just going to be whatever was triggered last. So if I do a whole rolling chord, the first one is where it starts. And if we trigger another note somewhere, it'll just swap to the most recently played note. So this is one example of having this EQ on a synthesizer. You can invert this if you wanted to. You could do all kinds of things to get this so that you can tweak the sound in additional ways with the EQ. Now, another way that I really think that this is useful, I've got the horns here, and we've got this modifier. Let's find it real quick. There it is. And I've got a reverb. For this one, the note number is being reassigned to the wet amount on the chroma verb. So you can see wet is at 12%. Let's actually switch this over to just a trumpet for a moment. Find part of the range here. So you can see as I play the notes down into the lower register, the actual wet signal of the reverb gets turned down as well. And then as I go into the higher register, it actually adds more reverb to the sound. And so what you're getting is this change in the trumpet timbre as it's being mixed with the reverb at different registers of the instrument itself. So as it's higher, it's wetter, and as it's lower, it's drier. So you get this really interesting effect on the brass that actually does kind of mimic, because most of the time when you're playing up in the high register, you're activating the room more than if you're playing at the low register where you're playing a lot softer and more reserved, less air going through the instrument itself. So this could be used for realism. It could just be used as an effect. It could just be something that you want to have a different sound as something goes in different registers, etc. Great way to be able to use this tool, the modifier, in conjunction with instruments to change things as you play in different parts of the MIDI source input. Okay, all of these here are the standard ones, but you can learn MIDI, so you can do any controller to this. It can be reassigned to any of these, any of the MIDI events, or any of the plugin parameters that can be MIDI controlled. So you have tons and tons of options for manipulating and changing how the MIDI works here. Okay, hope you're having a great week. Don't forget, if you want to support the channel, we do have the new Patreon account offer going on right now. Check that out. Link is in the description, and I hope you're having a great week.